Welcome to the You Are a Grown Up, You Can Do Whatever You Want podcast,
where you can stop living for other people and start owning your own life and business. After all, you are a grown up. You can do whatever you want.
We are your hosts, Ben and Kirsten Tyrell.
Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. If you are a mom or even a dad and you need a daily dose of inspiration, head over to marvelousmomsclub.com to check out over 100 episodes sharing stories from mothers from all over the world. So today's episode, because it's sponsored by Marvelous Moms Club, or it's sponsored because I owe a lot of my success as an entrepreneur and just my insight and some really wonderful experiences to that podcast. Starting a podcast was something kind of out of the blue because we started learning from a podcast.
Maybe you should mention that it's your podcast.
Oh yeah, it's my podcast. I just take for granted everybody doesn't already know that. I feel like the people who are listening right now are all my best friends, and I just kind of picture you guys as people that I know. But in case you don't know, Marvelous Moms Club is a podcast I started in January, and I was doing 5 episodes a week, interviewing moms from all over the place, and it's kind of gone down a little bit from there because I wanted each episode to have its time to shine and each mom deserved their story to be heard. So it's just kind of something it's there and I do it all the time, and I've gained a ton of fulfillment from doing it. It's actually not something I really treat like a business as much as I should. But being able to grow a community of women and filling a need that I didn't even know existed has been so fulfilling. So today we just want to talk about following your passion and trying hard to work towards that brilliance moment without feeling like you have to reinvent the wheel. Because if you're not being true to your heart and true to the inspiration that comes to you, then you're letting a lot of great opportunities go. So I don't know if you personally have felt that way, that you've let stuff go. But I know that your problem right now is you have so many inspirational ideas. You have so many things you want to do that you have to stash them away.
And we've talked about how I have all these different ideas and we have these projects, but they're not really any of my genius projects. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like
you're working towards that big, brilliant moment. And I think when I knew I'd stumbled upon something special was when somebody did use that word, brilliant. Oh, this is so brilliant. And I was like, really? Because, I don't know, I think you go through life thinking, if I could just invent something. Do you remember that? How we would try and think of devices or things to invent that people would just explode and we become millionaires overnight. But that literally very rarely happens to where you have this stroke of genius. And a lot of times we have strokes of genius that we ignore and have no idea that it's our brilliant moment coming to us. And it doesn't have to be an invention. It could be a really simple idea, and whether it makes you money or not, it's something you're supposed to do to make a difference in the world around you.
Well, and I think the big thing is if it's something that you're passionate about and, you're willing to do it no matter what, that's when it's something special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like I started a podcast with the intent that I was going to be the next John Lee Dumas and make thousands of dollars doing a podcast. But at the end of the day, I didn't decide to do a business podcast right away. I decided to do something that was really geared around what I loved, and that was being a mother. And being able to share that and being able to learn from other mothers has been so much more rewarding than any dollar amount that I could make with it. And I think that's the sweet spot you're looking for. You want to find something you feel that way about, where you would do it even if you had to do it for free, and then you make money from it, and that's just a bonus. So you're actually, and that's the whole premise of this podcast, being a grown-up, doing what you want. Because life's too short to waste time having a miserable life, having a job that you hate, going to an office where you don't like what you're doing, even though you've invested years into your education to do that thing. That's just not the way anybody wants to live. So start with your passion, and sometimes your passion doesn't have to be the thing that makes you money. But for the purpose here on this podcast, find something you're passionate about that you love. And if you don't find that perfect thing right away, keep searching, because it's going to find you and you're going to find it. And you might even discover, I think you've discovered along the way, there might not be one big thing yet that is just totally clicking with you, but you've really enjoyed serving people.
Yeah.
And you've enjoyed teaching people. It's been so rewarding to see people learn and to be able to progress in their own businesses because of the things that you've tried hard to teach.
Well, and I think as, the more you do, the more you know about yourself, and you can kind of figure things out, and that's when you get your inspiration, is by doing. Mm-hmm. It's not just gonna come to you while you're sitting on the couch staring at the TV.
No, like, that would be really nice, though.
I know.
Some people, it comes to them in dreams, but I feel like they're still, during the day, probably working towards seeking after something. They're looking for some kind of information, inspiration. You have to be super open to whatever's going to come your way. And I'll be open to the people around you. Because, you know, Justin and Tara, who I've mentioned before and we're going to have on the podcast, they were in our circle of friends. They were in our, you know, our group, our church, for a couple of years before we had any idea who they were, what they did, and before we took the time to, like, learn about them and be inspired by what they did. And after we did, it totally changed the trajectory of our lives. So you just have to be really aware of who's around you and who's placed in your life for a reason, and what they can do to inspire you and help you to learn and have the experiences that you're meant to have. We have just over 100 episodes of marvelous, amazing women who've shared their stories. And that all started because I just started with one idea. And I get emails several times a week from moms who the podcast has influenced their life. I've made friends because of doing this podcast. So regardless of what it means for me as a business, the fulfillment that I've gotten from that will never be matched by any amount of money. So go listen to your inspirations and look for your brilliance. Try and search for your genius zone, because it's not just going to come. You have to work for it, and you have to be searching it and bringing it to you with those positive affirmations. Ben's been really chatty on this episode, so I'm just going to close out here and say have a great day, guys, and we will see you tomorrow for a special episode that is all about the mindset makeover. If you haven't checked that out yet, go jump in. It's a free course. We really want to help you guys get out of your rut and help you start thinking differently about your lives and your business and your future. So we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the You Are a Grown Up, You Can Do Whatever You Want podcast. For more information, visit us at youareagrownup.com.